What's going on, guys? Stefan here with you, S&E's Garage. In today's video, we're going to be putting in starter in our 2010 Jeep Wrangler JKU. So we are having an issue where when the Jeep is hot, meaning the engine is, hot, especially now it's summertime, when it gets hot, it doesn't want to start. And when I say it doesn't want to start, I'm saying it's got a very slow crank, almost to the point where it left me stranded yesterday and I had to sit there for 20 minutes and let it cool down for it to finally start. So when I got it home, I checked a couple of things. I checked my alternator, I checked my battery, and I checked as many of the grounds as I could, and everything appears to be okay. Now, when I did my transmission, I took note that the alternator was pretty old and crusty looking. So I'm gonna take a shot at it, and I'm gonna put a starter in it and see if it fixes it. If it doesn't, I'll take it from there. So I decided to go with a Napa unit just because they're right down the street and they actually had it in stock and they have a pretty good warranty. Instead of waiting for one on Rock Auto to get here, it's just easier to just go buy one and throw it in. So let's go ahead, let's get the Jeep set up on the lift, let's get it up in the air, and let's replace the starter. So the first thing we're gonna do here is we're just gonna disconnect our negative terminal completely. We're gonna pull the negative completely off the battery. That way it is out of the equation and we don't have to worry about welding with, 12 volts. So let's pull that off. All right, guys. So right there is gonna be your starter. Nice and easy to get to. I'm just gonna cut a couple zip ties and get that shield out of there. That shield is there to prevent the starter from being heat soaked, which is kind of what's going on right now. It's just ours. You can see we use this Jeep in the woods. That thing's probably been underwater so many times. So it's time. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this shield out of here. And then those look like they're gonna be like 15 or 16 millimeters. We're gonna go ahead and pull them. Right, let's go ahead and cut that. And work on sliding the shield out of the way. Let's go ahead and set that aside. Then we can go ahead and work on pulling the starter down. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna disconnect the starter from the Jeep. So there's a little connector here. You can see at the tip of my fingers. That's going to be for the solenoid itself. And mine actually looks pretty crusty, so I'm gonna try not to touch that too much. And then I have the main 12 volt feed that I have to pull out, which looks like it's gonna be a 13 mil. So let me grab a 13 and give that a shot. And we'll be right back. 13 millimeter it is. Uh-oh. Looks like the post in the solenoid is actually broken. Maybe if I just tighten it, it will break. Oh yeah, that did work. All right, cool. Cool. All right, that worked. That was definitely our problem then. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and get the starter out. Now the starter is held in with two 16 millimeter bolts. We're just gonna have to slide this transmission shift cable out of the way and just work on breaking this loose here, like so. Okay, now that it's loose, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my electric ratchet and zip it out the rest of the way. Okay, here's one bolt. Let's see what we can't do with this top one that is buried behind a bunch of junk. Okay, this on the lift arm. Grab this bolt. out comes the starter. Like I said, when I looked at this, I said, oh my God, this thing is crusty. And it's still extremely crusty. And I'm surprised it started the Jeep for as long as it did. So let's go ahead, grab the new starter, throw it in. Okie dokie. Artichokey. Let's go ahead, slide this starter in. And grab one of our bolts to start it. There's this weird spacer that goes in between the starter and the engine block. Be sure not to misplace that. You do need to reuse it, obviously. You wouldn't want to forget that. Let's see what we got here. All right, now I am very quickly just going to go ahead and grab my ratchet and snug them down, and then we'll connect our wires. All right, guys, starter's back in. Slid that heat shield back over it. Let's lower it down, fire it up. Before you try to start your Jeep, make sure you put your negative terminal back on, and then you can try to start your Jeep. Ask me how I know. All right, let's fire it up. We're gonna call that fixed. This video helped you put a starter in your Jeep JK or JKU with the 3.8 liter. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.